Hello, welcome to the Connecting Life podcast. I'm your host, Dianaboskma, and here we connect the dots of health, nutrition, mindset, and everyday life, helping you build a healthier and more fulfilling future, one step at a time. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode. Today, we'll be having another short one, as it's quite warm where I live, so I want to get out of this room as quickly as I can again. So what we'll be continuing with is our Microbiome Spotlight series, and we've been exploring different fermented foods and beverages, and today we're going to be exploring a fermented beverage that often surprises people, and that is water kefir. Now, if you've listened to some of the earlier episodes, like the one on milk kefir, you may be wondering whether water kefir is maybe just a dairy-free version of that, and the answer is both yes and no. So, while they share the name kefir and are both living cultures, they're quite different drinks, and that's what makes water kefir, at least to me, so interesting. So one of the things that I love about all these traditional foods is how they really reveal how creative humanity's been over the years that we've been in this world. So across the world, people have learned to work with the ingredients available to them. And that has created for us fermented vegetables, sourdough, fermented milk, fermented tea, and some discovered ways to create refreshing fermented drinks using nothing more than water, sugar, and a living culture. And that's what water kefir is. So that is literally it. The heart of water kefir is water kefir grains. And as with milk kefir, they're not really grains, because they are scobies. A SCOBY is a living community of bacteria and yeast that are working together in a really cool partnership. So SCOBY stands for symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. So with these water kefir grains, as you can see in the image, because they're a bit translucent, like the milk kefir ones look more like cauliflower and these look more translucent. So you add them to sugar water, and with time that then becomes a completely different thing, because it becomes a little bit of a fizzy drink. And one of the things that I find so nice about water kefir is how versatile it can be. So some people just drink it as is. My kids, for instance, they love drinking it as is. But what you can also do is add lemon and lime. And when you do that in the right type of quantities, it starts to taste a bit like 7-Up. Though you can't compare it, because 7-Up has a lot of sugar in it, and this does not. This is tangy. So it's not super tangy, but it is a bit tangy. So it will be having a little bit of the 7-Up type of flavor, and I think it probably is where 7-Up in the end came from. And it's just really tasty. And what you can also add is, for instance, ginger or cinnamon or other herbs. They can be really nice in it. It's a matter of trial and error what you like, because you can add so many things to it. Berries can be really nice. You can make in the second fermentation, because that's where that works the best. You can add strawberries and just let it sit there, and it's just nice. And then seasonal fruits. So I like to keep my kefir grains clean. So I prefer adding it when I bottle it, because in the jar itself it gets fermented, and then I prefer to put it in a bottle with some fruits or fruit juice or whatever and put that in the fridge. Like here in the UK we sell cordials. Those are those are like syrup, so sugary fruit juices, and that continues fermenting then, and when you put it in the fridge it's a really lovely taste. And what you will see is that any batch that you make will be slightly different. And that spirit of experimentation is what you see a lot in all the traditional food cultures. So people have always adapted recipes to local ingredients, to seasons and personal preferences. And another thing that I find is really cool about water kefir grains, just like milk kefir grains, but also the SCOBY of kombucha, and like the Amish friendship cake or sourdough starters. People share it with each other. You share it with like neighbors or family members or friends, whatever, whoever is in need of it. My kombucha came from a friend. My water kefir grains came from another friend. My milk kefir grains actually through my ex, because he had a really good batch of milk kefir going, so that came through him. So it's really interesting to see when I look at where my SCOBYs and starters have come from. It's always different people. Sourdough I start myself. Whenever we forget about the sourdough at some point and it goes off, I just restart it with something that I still have in the fridge or the freezer, because I make sure I have some. So I don't need that anymore. But still, that can also be shared. If I would have a group of friends locally here and we would all use sourdough regularly, if one of us would have a sourdough that had come off because, when you go away for a week or whatever, you forget about it, it will go off. Well, then you just start with something from someone else, because locally here, that's fine. So what you see with these cultures is that they create connections between people. A living culture that goes from one kitchen to another. That is just a very special thing to experience. So what we've been exploring throughout this series is that traditional diets often include a wide variety of foods and drinks. And water kefir reminds us that fermentation isn't limited to one category of food. This is just literally sugar and water. And the other thing is it can be vegetables, it can be dairy products, it can be grains, it can be teas, it can be all sorts. There's so much. And each of these ferments or fermented drinks or foods is a different story, a different background, a different area of the world where it came from, a different type of tradition, because they all come from different places in the world where people have different traditions, different lives. So it's just really interesting to see that in our world we have so much variety that is all good for our health. And I just love that. So each of these foods, these fermented foods, they help us appreciate the ingenuity of all the people that came before us. So that's what I want to leave you with today. So thank you for joining me in this next episode of the Microbiome Food Spotlights. I have created a digital download. You can download that from my website if you want. And other than that, until next time, take good care of yourself and also keep nourishing yourself. And have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.